Welcome back, everyone, to the Barely News. I'm here as always, Alexis, and I'm joined by Peter. We bring you another installment of the Marvel Project. This time, we're talking about Iron Man 2.
A lot of people don't like this movie.
They don't, do they?
No.
No, but we like it, right?
I like it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because there's a lot of films that when I see it, I'll love it. And then, time goes by, and I realize, oh, everyone hates this film.
Yeah.
So I'll rewatch it, and I still won't get it. I won't get really.
What is the hate for this movie, actually?
It was more of a setup film to the Avengers than it was its own Iron Man sequel. I don't even think they did that much setting up. It was mainly just because they had Nick Fury.
Yeah.
And Black
But
Widow.
there was Nick Fury. There was Black Widow. There was references to the Hulk. At the end of the movie,
that's like a blink if you miss it kind of thing.
There's also a Captain America shield.
Oh yeah, that.
And then the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Not the hammer, but the post-end credits scene that also had the allusion to where Phil Coulson was going to go to New Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, you see the way films just interconnect so much now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Winter Soldier, it had Olive Shield. Yeah. It had the exact amount of people. It had Black Widow. It had Nick Fury. I will say that film handled those characters a bajillion times better, like way better.
Look. The criticism of it being a setup movie, I get it, but in hindsight, compared to what we've seen now with interconnected movies, you're right. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And let's just start off with negatives so we can get that out of the way.
Okay.
Black Widow.
That was my biggest negative.
Her. I didn't buy. Even watching it again,
she's terrible.
She is, isn't she?
I'd go so far as to say it's terrible. She had no personality whatsoever. Just blank.
Yeah.
Just like, and I had forgotten because it'd been a long time since I'd rewatched this film.
And because she's amazing in all of the other movies. She was amazing
in the Avengers.
In the Winter Soldier. Even Age of Ultron.
Yeah, Age of Ultron. She's really grown into a really fun and great character, an interesting character. But you forget in the first one, she was nothing but eye candy.
Yeah, she's
Iron Man 2.
I get the rationale for having her in the movie, and I agree with it. But I think what kind of kills it is just the performance.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it, and you're right. It is probably just terrible. Everything she says is like, there's no emotion. It's just like, it's very Batman v Superman-esque.
The only way I rationalize Black Widow is to say, well, she was undercover. So that's why she was acting like that. Right. That's
But even when she wasn't, I still didn't get really interested in her. So I guess somewhere in the world we have to thank Joss Whedon for turning her character around.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke. Ivan Vanko.
Mm-hmm. This is where Marvel's problems always come through.
We didn't talk about much of the Abomination in the Hulk review. I think we both liked Obadiah Stane, and I think Abomination was serviceable.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's always been sort of just that big hulking thing.
Right. Ivan Vanko, though, I think is probably the first real taste of Marvel's kryptonite, if we're gonna put it that way.
Cookie cutter villains.
Because, man, I mean.
And you know what? I remember reading articles with what's his name?
Mickey Rourke.
He was pissed off at Marvel because he's like, I did all this. I tried to really create a better character, and basically everything I did was left on the cutting room floor.
I mean, you can definitely see that in the beginning of the movie. They're trying to set him up, and they're trying to give him this story.
Yeah. At first, it seems like he's gonna have a good sort of story or arc.
It sets up as if, okay, this is the guy that's gonna bring Iron Man down, and then it goes nowhere.
Kind of.
It disappears. I want my bird. I want my bird. That's all I get from that.
I did love Mickey Rourke's performance, though.
It was funny.
He's just
it's not supposed to be funny, though. I mean, it's a villain.
But I did like him as just sort of this badass Russian weirdo that loves birds. My boy.
And then the other negative thing, Sam Rockwell.
Honestly, I love Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer.
I can't stand him.
Do you really?
I can't stand him. Every time I watch
him.
this movie, I hate him even more.
That's where we have differences.
He is such an annoying little prick. And no one in this movie gives a fuck about him.
I loved him. I love Sam Rockwell. And I really loved Justin Hammer. That was his name? It was Hammer.
Yeah, I'm talking about Justin Hammer, not Sam Rockwell. I'm talking about Justin Hammer.
I loved him, though.
Hate him.
This is sort of someone that's not necessarily his equal, but his competitor.
Yeah.
And Sam Rockwell...
I like the idea of him more than I like him.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with him. But his personality really turns me off.
Really?
Yes. It's just like, he tries to be this, and then he's like, "Ugh, you're so awkward. You're so get out of my face. You're disgusting."
I liked him. I honestly, I would want them to bring him back for future movies.
Like all of the scenes with Mickey Rourke, with or actually Ivan Vanko, or with Black Widow, or with Justin Hammer. If I honestly could live with the majority of those scenes being cut out and thrown away.
Okay.
For me, this movie was made on Tony Stark's scenes alone.
This is, I think, where the movie shines.
Oh yeah,
through.
Tony killed it. My favorite scene in this movie is the Senate hearing.
That's a great scene.
I gotta tell you,
and I love Sam Rockwell in that too.
Oh, there I liked him. Okay. There, I'll give him that. But in that sequence, it may be one of the most memorable scenes of the whole cinematic universe. I mean, it is just so great. The way it was filmed, the way it was shot, all the characters interacting, and Tony just hacking in. Gary Shandling playing the senator.
It really shows the evolution of Tony Stark from the first one to the second one. This is when he's at his most arrogant.
Oh my
God! You've ever seen him.
Really?
Yes.
You think he was arrogant when he gave the Mandarin his home address?
I think he was angry.
Okay.
But here he's arrogant. He's like, I'm the shit. Yeah. Everyone knows it. F off. He was that, and it was sort of brought on by the knowledge that he's dying.
That's true. Which is a big part of the movie.
Yeah.
And that actually works. Watching it again.
Really well.
All the way throughout. You see as a blood toxicity as it's going all the way through, and that you actually buy, and you get that this guy's afraid to die,
and that's why he's becoming more arrogant, sort of more of an asshole, and he's
not
becoming more reckless.
That's true.
And I thought that was a really nice arc for him.
Exactly. You know what? Also, and I don't want to be that person that keeps taking a crap on Batman v Superman.
But you are gonna be. But you are gonna be.
The commentary here worked a lot better than in that movie about God bleeding. In the sense that...
I love when Mickey Rourke, he's like, if you can make God bleed, people will cease to exist in him.
Will cease to believe in him. There'll be sharks in the water, blood in the water, and the sharks will come. See, and then and he was right. People were questioning Iron Man, and the government was on his ass to the point where they wanted to like bust in the door and take his suits away.
And I think that's why, as a movie as a whole, it kind of works for me, because this is him when he's up until at that MCU part, up until that point, he was at his lowest. He was dying.
Yeah.
And he sort of had the weight the weight of the world at his shoulders. And like you said, if people see God bleed, they will cease to believe in him. They're coming after him at every different angle. The government and his best friend is like, we're coming for your suit. You have Ivan Vanko coming for him from a long-lost family dispute. The media coming after him. His competitor, Justin Hammer's coming after him. They're coming at him at all different angles.
All the while, they're having a year-long Stark Expo.
Yeah, and I love these Stark Expo stuff, too. God, yeah. I really like that stuff. The
opening when he flies out the window, and then he's like, all this. I mean, that's why you love Tony. I mean, the spectacle of it. Yes.
He's one of those people which theoretically you should hate.
Yeah.
But you just still love him just because he's just so charismatic. And he is deep down a good person. Going into more of the tying in area, Black Widow, it didn't work mainly because there was like no character to it.
You got more Nick Fury here though.
But I like Nick Fury. Nick Fury. I liked Nick Fury in this film. And I like the ties to S.H.I.E.L.D. and his father, Howard Stark.
For me, that was one of the highlights. Well. Maybe my second favorite scene in this movie or third would be him rediscovering that old footage of Howard and that message he had. What will be my greatest creation is you.
Yeah.
That was an emotional scene, and that's one of the scenes that Marvel really does well.
Like that's what we keep saying. Marvel, they got the character stuff down, and that's the most important thing I think to a film. If you can get your characters working, you know, you're golden.
The main critique of the movie is that it's setting up the Avengers, but then again, for me, I never got the impression that this movie's main objective was to set up Avengers. That it was to like continue Tony's story.
Yeah.
And for him ultimately reconnecting with his father and the memory of his father and his legacy and what he did with S.H.I.E.L.D. That to me is what the main objective of this movie is. Not that it's setting up all these different things, even though it's doing that. It's doing that, but it's not clumsy in any way.
Yeah. And also talking about action, because these are superhero films. They really kicked it up a notch for the sequel, and it was nice. I liked it. I love his fight at the end with all the drones, and then him and Rhodey are taking them all on.
Except how easily Ivan got taken out.
You know what? I think that was a last-minute addition.
Really?
Because I remember watching the deleted scenes, and the deleted scene was like Ivan Vanko. He never gets into a suit, finds Pepper and puts a gun to her head, and then Iron Man comes and like saves her and stuff like that. Like he never put the suit on. I think it was a last-minute addition. They're like, hey, we need to put him. You know, we need a last minute fight between these guys.
Yeah,
so at the last minute, they kind
he
of
was taken out like that, and it's like
you can kind of tell.
I really love the scene where Phil Coulson is looking at that suitcase, and he's like, he sees Captain America's shield.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, what's this doing here? All fanboying and everything. And then I loved how Tony looks at it, assesses what it is, and then ultimately uses it as a paperweight.
Yeah.
And I kind of, for me, it's kind of brilliant because that kind of sets up everything Tony feels about Captain America. I mean, in a nutshell, that was the seed of Civil War.
It was a great joke. It was a great way to tie in the bigger world, but not be like beat you over the head. Like, you know what this is, right? And he's like, oh yeah. And he just like puts it under the pipe. Perfect. Okay, what do you want? Like it's a funny joke and it works well.
But you can just tell how much he doesn't care about Captain America or how much disdain he has.
But also that adds to like his father. He's like, my father never told me he loved me. He never told me he even liked me. You know,
that's
and
right,
he probably, like they say later on in the Avengers, he's like, you know, and that's the guy my dad couldn't shut up about.
Yeah.
You can see maybe this disdain because his father was so in love with this guy and stuff like that, and his father showed him. From what he felt, none of that love.
And thus, the origins of Captain America Civil War.
Daddy issues. It always comes back to that.
The main critique for me, a lot of people had, is that it ain't no Iron Man. It's not Iron Man. And
it's
maybe
not
as a sequel, it doesn't live up to what the original was.
Like what we're talking about with the first Iron Man, it's not perfectly paced and edited together.
Right.
There is a little bit of disjointedness.
It's not as good as Iron Man.
It's not. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's
like,
fun.
It's for me, it's still a really enjoyable film. And I remember it was probably the one from Phase 1 I rewatched maybe the most. Just because I enjoyed all of the Iron Man stuff a lot. Like a lot. It was, for me, it was really good. Give it another shot. Maybe watch it again if you hate it. Like I completely understand.
The chemistry is still there. The chemistry with Pepper, with Happy Hogan, with
you get a lot more Happy Hogan.
You get a lot more Happy Hogan, maybe, and then you also Don Cheadle as Rhodey.
Oh
yeah, I mean a recast,
I liked him.
And it still worked.
Yeah, it still worked.
So I mean, there were a lot, for me anyway, a lot more things this movie got right than it probably could not have gotten right.
It gets more right than it gets wrong.
The calculation behind Iron Man 2 for Marvel, I will give credence to the critics that yes, it was a way to kind of amplify the cinematic universe being built up, but I'm pretty sure it was much more of a financial driven decision because this movie killed at the box office, I think, when it came out. And maybe Hulk didn't make as much as they wanted it to.
I think its opening weekend, it came in like third.
Hulk?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, back then, oof. So, I mean, Iron Man 2, I think, was probably the hit they needed to kind of get their funds for Avengers, as you could say. So, But it was a entertaining movie that we both liked.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. Make sure to tell us what you thought of Iron Man 2 in the comments below. And this is Peter, I'm Alexis, and this is Billy News, the place for all things movie news and reviews. And keep it up for more Marvel Project videos. Bye-bye.